There is a power within you that waits quietly, patiently, for your direction. It does not question. It does not argue. It does not delay. It simply responds. It listens to the tone of your thoughts, the feeling behind your words, the images you hold in the silence of your mind, and whatever you impress upon it, it brings into form. Most people move through life unaware of this silent servant. They speak carelessly, think fearfully, imagine lack, and then wonder why their world reflects confusion, delay, and limitation. They believe life happens to them, never realizing that life is responding to them. Your wish is not a fragile hope. It is a command. The moment a desire rises within you, it is not random. It is not accidental. It is a signal, a calling, a divine impulse seeking expression through you. That desire carries within it the power to be fulfilled. But it requires your agreement. It requires your acceptance. It requires that you speak to the unseen with authority, not doubt. You must begin to think differently about your wishes. Stop treating them as distant dreams. Stop placing them outside yourself, as though they belong to some future time or some better version of you. Your wish exists now. It lives within your awareness, and what lives in your awareness can be made real. When you say, "I wish," do not say it with hesitation. Say it with knowing. Say it with the certainty that what you desire is already moving toward you, already being arranged, already finding its way through channels you cannot yet see. The unseen world responds to conviction. If you whisper your desires with fear, you command delay. If you imagine failure, you command resistance. If you speak of lack, you command more lack. But if you declare your good with calm authority, with quiet confidence, with unwavering faith, then the unseen must respond accordingly. It has no choice. This is the law of your being. You are not here to beg for your desires. You are here to claim them, not through force, not through struggle, but through alignment. Through the steady recognition that what you seek is already yours in essence, waiting only for your acceptance to become visible. Many people wait for signs before they believe, but the one who understands this principle believes first, and the signs follow. They do not look to the outer world for permission. They turn inward. Impress the image of fulfillment upon their mind, and remain faithful to it. Your imagination is not a place of escape. It is a place of creation. When you see your desire clearly in your mind, when you feel it as real, when you accept it as already accomplished, you set a command into motion. The unseen forces begin to rearrange circumstances, bring the right people, open the right doors, dissolve the right obstacles. And it happens naturally, effortlessly, in ways that often surprise you. But you must remain steady. Do not undo your command with doubt. Do not plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see if it is growing. Trust the process. Trust the power that moves through you. Trust that what you have claimed inwardly is finding its expression outwardly. Speak only what you desire to see. Let your words become aligned with your wish. Let your thoughts support it. Let your feelings confirm it. And when fear rises, as it sometimes will, do not give it authority. Gently return to your knowing. Return to your vision. Return to your command. I know what I have chosen. I know. It is mine. There is a quiet strength in that recognition, a calm certainty that does not need to prove itself. It simply knows, and knowing is power. The world you experience is not separate from you. It is shaped by your inner state. It reflects your dominant thoughts, your accepted beliefs, your repeated assumptions. Change these, and you change everything. You are not limited by circumstances. You are not bound by the past. You are not restricted by what others think or say. The only true limitation is the one you accept. Release it. Replace it with the vision of what you truly desire. Hold that vision gently. but firmly. Return to it often. Let it become familiar. Let it feel natural. Let it become your new reality within. Because what feels natural to you will manifest around you. Your wish is not waiting for the right time. It is waiting for your recognition. The moment you fully accept it, without contradiction, without hesitation, without inner conflict, that is the moment it begins to take form. Not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. You allowed the power within you to do what it was always meant to do, to create, to express, to bring forth your good in perfect ways. So choose wisely what you command. Do not dwell on what you fear. Do not rehearse what you do not want. Do not give energy to limitation. Turn your attention to your desire, to your vision, to your inner knowing, and declare it. Quietly, confidently, persistently. Your wish is your command. Your thoughts are not idle moments drifting through your mind. They are living commands being issued into an unseen system that responds with precision and obedience. Every thought carries a direction, a tone, an instruction, whether you realize it or not. You are constantly giving orders through what you dwell upon, what you expect, and what you emotionally accept as true. The mind is not a passive observer of life. It is the control center from which your experiences are shaped and delivered. Most people underestimate the power of a single thought because it feels intangible, fleeting, and private. But what is unseen is not powerless. In fact, the unseen governs the seen. A thought, when repeated and believed, becomes a pattern, and that pattern begins to organize your perception, your behavior, and the events that seem to arrive in your life. It is not coincidence that what you consistently think about eventually appears in some form. It is the natural result of an inner command being carried out. When you think of something with fear, you are not merely reacting, you are instructing. You are giving energy and direction to an outcome you do not desire. The system does not interpret your preference. It responds to your focus. It takes what is impressed upon it and begins to shape circumstances that mirror that impression. This is why careless thinking leads to unwanted results, not as punishment, but as fulfillment of the command that was unknowingly given. There is no neutrality in thought. Even silence carries an underlying belief, and that belief is also a command. If you believe that life is difficult, that belief quietly organizes your experiences to confirm it. If you assume that opportunities are scarce, your awareness filters out possibilities and highlights limitation, reinforcing the command you have accepted. The outer world becomes a reflection of the inner agreement you have made, often without questioning it. To understand that your thoughts are commands is to realize that you are not a victim of life's unfold. Ding, you are a participant in its creation. The shift is subtle, but profound. Instead of asking why things happen, you begin to observe what you have been consistently thinking and feeling. You begin to see the connection between your inner dialogue and your outer reality. This awareness is the beginning of conscious creation. A command does not need to be spoken aloud. It is formed through repetition, belief, and emotional intensity. A fleeting thought may pass without much effect, but a thought that is entertained, revisited, and felt deeply begins to take root. It becomes familiar, and what is familiar is accepted. Once accepted, it moves from possibility to expectation, and expectation is a powerful command. The key is not to control every passing thought with force, but to become aware of which thoughts you are giving authority to. Authority is given through attention. What you return to again and again, what you dwell upon, what you believe to be true, these are the thoughts that shape your reality. They are the commands that are being executed. When you begin to take responsibility for your thoughts, you may notice how often they contradict what you desire. You may say you want success, yet think of failure. You may wish for abundance, yet focus on lack. These conflicting commands create confusion, delay, and inconsistency. The system responds to both, producing mixed results that reflect the divided state within. Clarity comes when your thoughts align with your desire, when what you think, feel, and expect all point in the same direction. The command becomes strong and unmistakable. There is no resistance within you, no opposing instruction. To slow the process, the path becomes clear, and the response becomes more immediate. It is important to understand that the power of a thought is not in its force, but in its acceptance. You do not need to strain or struggle to make a thought effective. In fact, effort often introduces doubt. A calm, steady knowing is far more powerful than intense, anxious repetition. When you think from a place of certainty, the command is clear and undistorted. You can begin to test this in small ways. Choose a simple idea and hold it gently in your mind. Return to it throughout the day without forcing it. Notice how your awareness begins to shift, how opportunities or insights related to that idea start to appear. This is not magic in the sense of something unnatural. It is the natural response to a clear and consistent command. The challenge is not in understanding this principle, but in applying it consistently. The mind has been conditioned over time to think in certain patterns, often shaped by past experiences, external influences, and repeated assumptions. Changing these patterns requires awareness and persistence. It requires that you consciously choose which thoughts to accept and which to release. When a thought arises that does not align with your desire, you do not need to fight it. Simply recognize it and choose not to give it authority. Let it pass without engagement. And gently return your attention to the thought you wish to establish. Over time, the new thought becomes more familiar, and the old pattern loses its influence. This is not about denying reality, but about redefining it. What you see around you is the result of past commands. What you think now is shaping what will come. By changing your inner dialogue, you are not ignoring the present. You are transforming the future. Your thoughts are always at work, always issuing instructions, always shaping the flow of your experience. Whether you are aware of it or not, the process continues. But awareness gives you choice. It allows you to become intentional rather than reactive, to direct rather than drift. There is a quiet power in knowing that every thought matters, not in a way that creates pressure, but in a way that brings clarity and purpose. You begin to see your mind not as something to control, but as something to guide, a tool that responds to your direction, a system that reflects your inner state. And as you continue to align your thoughts with what you truly desire, you begin to notice a shift. Life feels less random, less chaotic, more responsive. You see connections where there once seemed to be none. You recognize patterns, understand causes, and trust the process unfolding within and around you. The realization deepens that you are always commanding, always directing, always shaping your experience. Through this simple, powerful act of thinking, what you accept inwardly becomes the blueprint from which your outer world is formed. It is not merely what you wish for, or even what you occasionally think about, but what you truly accept as real within yourself that determines what appears in your life. Acceptance is deeper than desire. It is quieter, more settled, and far more powerful. It is the moment when an idea is no longer questioned, no longer resisted, no longer held at a distance, but allowed to exist as truth within your consciousness. Many people live in a state of wanting without accepting. They desire change, improvement, success, love, abundance, yet inwardly they remain aligned with limitation, doubt, and old assumptions. They say they want one thing, but accept another. This inner contradiction creates a gap, and within that gap, Nothing solid can form. The outer world reflects this uncertainty with delays, inconsistencies, and results that never fully satisfy. Acceptance is the bridge between desire and manifestation. It is the point where your wish becomes your inner reality. When you accept something inwardly, you no longer chase it, question it, or wait for it. You begin to think from it, feel from it, and live as though it is already a part of you. This shift is subtle, but profound. Instead of looking outward for evidence, you establish the truth within. And the outer world gradually aligns to reflect. The mind does not distinguish between what is physically present and what is deeply accepted. If you consistently hold an idea with belief and emotional certainty, it becomes your internal reference point. From that reference point, your perceptions, decisions, and reactions begin to change. You start to notice opportunities that align with your accepted belief. You respond differently to situations. You carry yourself in a way that reflects your inner state. And all of this contributes to the unfolding of a new outer reality. What you accept shapes your identity. It defines how you see yourself and what you believe is possible for you. If you accept that you are capable, worthy, and supported, your actions naturally align with those beliefs. You take steps with confidence, you persist through challenges, and you interpret setbacks as temporary rather than defining. On the other hand, if you accept that you are limited, unworthy, or destined to struggle, your behavior reflects that acceptance. You hesitate, you doubt, you withdraw, and you reinforce the very conditions you wish to escape. The outer world does not impose identity upon you. It reflects the identity you have accepted. This is why two people can experience similar circumstances, yet respond in completely different ways. Their inner acceptance differs, and so their reality unfolds differently. One sees possibility where another sees limitation. One finds opportunity where another sees obstacles. The difference is not in the world, but in the inner agreement each person has made to change your outer world. You must first examine what you have accepted as true, not what you hope is true, not what you say you believe, but what you consistently return to in your thoughts and feelings. What feels natural to you? What do you assume without question? These are the accepted truths that are shaping your experience. Changing. Acceptance is not about forcing yourself to believe something that feels completely foreign. It is about gradually shifting your inner agreement. You begin by introducing new ideas that align with your desire, and you return to them consistently. You allow yourself to imagine them, to feel them, to explore them without resistance. Over time, what once felt unfamiliar begins to feel possible, and what feels possible can eventually be accepted. Repetition plays a key role in this process. The mind becomes familiar with what it encounters repeatedly, and familiarity leads to acceptance. When you consistently think and feel in alignment with your desired reality, you begin to normalize it. It no longer feels distant or unrealistic. It becomes part of your internal landscape, something you recognize as belonging to you. Emotion strengthens acceptance. When a thought is combined with feeling, it leaves a deeper impression. It moves beyond intellectual understanding and becomes an experienced reality within you. This is why it is not enough to simply think positive thoughts. You must feel the truth of them. You must allow yourself to experience, even briefly, the reality of what you desire as though it is already present. Doubt is not the enemy, but it does indicate a lack of acceptance. When doubt arises, it reveals that part of you is still aligned with an old belief. Instead of resisting it, you can observe it and gently return to the idea you wish to accept. Over time, the new belief gains strength, and the old one loses its hold. The process is not about perfection. It is about consistency. You do not need to maintain a flawless mental state at all times. What matters is the direction of your focus and the overall pattern of your thoughts. If you consistently return to your desired belief, if you continue to accept it inwardly despite temporary doubts, it will eventually become dominant. As your inner acceptance shifts, your outer world begins to change in ways that may seem subtle at first. Small opportunities arise, new ideas come to you, unexpected connections form. These are not random events, they are the natural result of your inner state expressing itself outwardly. The more you accept your desired reality, the more these signs increase, building momentum and clarity. There is no need to force the outer world to change. The outer world is always responding. Your role is to establish the inner truth. When that truth is clear, consistent, and accepted, the outer reflection follows. It may not happen instantly, and it may not follow a predictable path, but it will unfold in alignment with what you have accepted. You are always accepting something. Even in moments of doubt or fear, you are accepting those states as real, and they influence your experience accordingly. Becoming aware of this gives you the ability to choose consciously. You can decide what you will accept as true about yourself, your life, and your possibilities. This choice is not made once, but repeatedly. Each time you return to your desired belief, each time you choose to accept it despite appearances, you strengthen it. You reinforce the inner reality that will eventually be mirrored outwardly. The power lies not in external conditions, but in your inner agreement with them. Change the agreement, and the conditions must follow. What you accept inwardly is never lost or ignored. It is stored, reinforced, and expressed through the patterns of your life. It becomes the lens through which you see and the force through which you create, shaping your experiences in ways that reflect your deepest, most consistent beliefs. Faith and certainty are not passive emotions. They are active forces that set unseen mechanisms into motion. They are the quiet authority behind every fulfilled desire, the invisible foundation upon which all visible results are built. When you truly understand their nature, you realize they are not something you wait to feel after results appear, but something you embody before anything changes in your outer world. Most people believe faith is fragile, something that comes and goes, depending on circumstances. They place it at the mercy of what they can see, hear, and touch. When things go well, they feel certain. When things become uncertain, their faith weakens. But this is not true faith. This is reaction. True faith exists independently of external evidence. It is rooted in an inner knowing that does not require proof because it precedes it. Certainty is the stabilizing force of faith. It is the calm conviction that what you have chosen is already yours, even if there is no visible sign of it yet. It does not argue. It does not strain. It does not seek validation. It simply knows. And this knowing sends a clear and consistent signal into the unseen, a signal that cannot be misunderstood or diluted. The unseen world responds not to what you say occasionally, but to what you consistently believe. When your mind wavers between doubt and belief, it sends mixed signals, and the response becomes scattered. But when faith and certainty are present, the message becomes unified. There is no contradiction, no resistance, no hesitation. The command is clear, and the response begins immediately, even if it is not yet visible. This is why two people can desire the same outcome, but experience completely different results. One may hope, wish, and try, but remain uncertain deep within. The other may quietly accept the outcome as inevitable, holding it with unwavering confidence. The difference is not in effort, but in inner state. Faith combined with certainty creates a powerful alignment that moves beyond surface-level thinking and reaches the deeper levels where creation begins. Faith is not blind belief. It is a recognition of a principle that operates consistently. Whether you are aware of it or not, it is the understanding that the unseen precedes the seen, that every visible result was once an invisible idea held with conviction. When you adopt this perspective, you stop waiting for external confirmation and begin to rely on your inner alignment as the source of truth. Certainty strengthens this process by removing doubt from the equation. Doubt is not simply the absence of belief. It is a conflicting instruction. It introduces hesitation into your command, weakening its effect. When you are certain, you eliminate this conflict. Your thoughts, feelings, and expectations all move in the same direction, creating a coherent and powerful influence. Developing faith and certainty is not about forcing yourself to believe something you completely reject. It is about gradually building trust in the process. You begin with small things, observing how your thoughts and expectations influence your experiences. As you notice these patterns, your confidence grows. What once felt uncertain begins to feel reliable, and your faith becomes grounded in experience rather than hope. Repetition plays a key role in strengthening certainty. The more you return to a chosen belief, the more familiar it becomes. Familiarity reduces resistance, and reduced resistance allows acceptance to deepen over time. What once required effort to believe becomes natural, almost automatic. This is when certainty takes root. Emotion also amplifies faith. When you feel the reality of your desire as though it is already fulfilled, you move beyond intellectual agreement and into experiential knowing. This emotional alignment sends a stronger signal into the unseen, reinforcing your command and accelerating its response. It is not about forcing intense emotion, but about allowing yourself to genuinely experience the state you wish to create. Challenges often arise during this process, not as obstacles, but as opportunities to strengthen your faith. When circumstances appear that contradict your desire, they test your inner alignment. Do you return to doubt, or do you remain steady in your knowing? Each time you choose certainty over fear, you reinforce your command and deepen your trust. In the process, it is important to understand that faith does not eliminate action, but it transforms it. Actions taken from doubt are driven by urgency, fear, and the need to control outcomes. Actions taken from certainty are calm, deliberate, and aligned. You do what feels natural and necessary without forcing or overthinking. The difference lies in the energy behind the action, not the action itself. Certainty also changes how you perceive time. When you are uncertain, you feel the need for immediate results as proof. You become impatient, constantly checking for signs, questioning whether anything is happening. But when you are certain, time becomes less significant. You understand that the process is unfolding, and you allow it to do so without interference. This patience is not passive, it is grounded in trust. The unseen forces that respond to faith and certainty operate beyond your conscious awareness. They organize details, align circumstances, and create connections in ways you cannot predict. Your role is not to manage every step, but to maintain your inner alignment. When that alignment is strong, the process unfolds with a sense of ease and coherence. You may not always see immediate results, but this does not mean nothing is happening. Much of the process occurs beneath the surface, where conditions are being prepared and aligned. Doubt during this stage can disrupt the flow, while continued faith strengthens it. Trusting what you cannot see is what allows it to become visible. Faith and certainty are not reserved for a select few. They are available to anyone willing to cultivate them. They do not depend on external qualifications, past experiences, or current circumstances. They rise from within, from your willingness to choose belief over doubt, alignment over conflict, knowing over uncertainty. As you continue to practice this, you begin to notice a shift in how you experience life. You feel less reactive, less dependent on external validation, more grounded in your inner state. You recognize that your power lies not in controlling the outer world, but in directing your inner one. And from that inner direction, the outer world takes shape in ways that reflect your faith and your certainty. The more you embody these qualities, the more natural they become, and the more consistently the unseen responds to your direction, bringing into form the reality you have already accepted as true within your self-imagination is not a form of escape from reality. It is the very workshop where reality is shaped before it becomes visible. What you consistently imagine, especially when infused with feeling and acceptance, becomes the pattern that life begins to follow. It is the gateway through which the unseen takes form, the quiet space where ideas are given substance long before they appear in the physical world. Most people treat imagination as something trivial, something reserved for daydreaming or temporary distraction. They use it without awareness, often replaying fears, worries, and unwanted outcomes. In doing so, they unknowingly rehearse the very experiences they wish to avoid. The mind does not distinguish between imagined and real when the experience is vivid and emotionally charged. It responds to both in the same way, accepting them as instructions. When you imagine something repeatedly, you are not merely thinking about it, you are experiencing it inwardly. You are creating a mental environment that feels real, and that feeling begins to influence your beliefs, your expectations, and your actions. Over time, what you have imagined with consistency starts to feel familiar, and what feels familiar becomes accepted. Once accepted, it moves naturally toward expression. This is why imagination is so powerful. It allows you to experience your desired reality before it physically exists. It gives you the ability to step into a version of yourself that already has what you seek, already lives the life you desire, already embodies the qualities you wish to develop. In that imagined state, you are not hoping or wishing, you are being. Being is the key. When you imagine from the perspective of already having, already being, already experiencing, you shift your identity. You move from wanting to having, from seeking to embodying. This shift changes the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you respond to the world. Your actions become aligned with your imagined reality, and this alignment begins to shape your outer experience. Imagination works most effectively when it is clear and focused. Vague or inconsistent images produce weak impressions, while vivid and detailed imagery creates a stronger internal experience. The more clearly you can see, feel, and sense your desired outcome, the more powerful the impression becomes. It is not about forcing detail, but about allowing the scene to feel natural and real to you. Emotion amplifies imagination. When you feel the joy, the satisfaction, the confidence of your imagined reality, you deepen its impact. Emotion is what transforms an image into an experience. It bridges the gap between thought and belief, allowing what you imagine to be accepted as real within your mind. This emotional engagement is what gives imagination its creative power. Repetition strengthens the process. Returning to your imagined reality regularly helps to establish it as a familiar state. Each time you revisit it, you reinforce the pattern, making it more stable and more influential. Over time, it begins to feel like your natural state, something that belongs to you rather than something you are trying to achieve. It is important to imagine from a place of calm certainty rather than desperation. When imagination is driven by lack, it reinforces the feeling of not having. But when it is approached with a sense of ease and knowing, it becomes a powerful tool for creation. You are not trying to escape your current reality. You are shaping your future one. Doubt may arise during this process, especially if your current circumstances seem to contradict your imagined reality. When this happens, it is important not to abandon your vision. Instead, you acknowledge the doubt without giving it authority and return to your imagined state. Over time, the consistency of your imagination will outweigh the influence of temporary doubts. Imagination also influences your perception of opportunities. When you hold a clear image of your desired outcome, your mind becomes attuned to anything that aligns with it. You begin to notice possibilities that you may have previously overlooked. You recognize connections, ideas, and resources that support your vision. This is not coincidence. It is the result of your imagination directing your attention. Your behavior naturally follows your imagination. When you see yourself as capable, confident, and successful, you begin to act in ways that reflect those qualities. You make decisions that align with your vision, take actions that support your goals, and respond to challenges with a mindset that is consistent with your imagined identity. This alignment between imagination and action accelerates the process of manifestation. It is not necessary to understand every step of how your imagined reality will come to pass. The role of imagination is to establish the end, the desired outcome. The process by which it unfolds can remain flexible. Trying to control every detail can introduce resistance and limit possibilities. Allowing the process to unfold naturally creates space for outcomes that may exceed your expectations. Imagination is always active, whether you are aware of it or not. The key is to use it consciously rather than allowing it to be guided by habit or fear. By choosing what you imagine and how you imagine it, you take an active role in shaping your experience. You move from reacting to circumstances to creating them. Consistency is more important than intensity. A calm, steady practice of imagining your desired reality is more effective than occasional bursts of intense effort. It is the repeated return to your vision that builds its strength and stability. Over time, this consistency transforms your inner world, and your outer world begins to reflect that transformation. As your imagination becomes more aligned with your desires, you may notice a shift in how you experience life. You feel more connected to your vision, more confident in your direction, and more receptive to the opportunities that arise. You begin to trust the process, recognizing that what you consistently imagine is gradually taking form. The boundary between imagination and reality becomes less rigid. What you once saw as separate begins to feel connected, part of a continuous process of creation. You understand that your inner world is not isolated from your outer experience, but deeply intertwined with it. Imagination is not limited by current conditions, past experiences, or external expectations. It is a space of pure potential where you can explore possibilities without restriction. By entering that space with intention and clarity, you begin to shape a reality that reflects your deepest desires and highest vision. What you consistently imagine, accept, and feel as real within yourself becomes the pattern that life follows, guiding your experiences in ways that align with the images you have chosen to hold within your mind.